Hello. In today's video we are going to be making this using the digital kit, and then we're going to be making this without a digital kit. And if you stay till the end, you'll find out some information about a freebie. I will get cracking. It has been a while again since I've filmed, but unfortunately that is just how it is going to be. I will just basically get a video out whenever I can. So I do have the French scrappy blue French kit printed, and somebody had asked me if I can show how, first of all, how I age papers or documents or whatever. So this is obviously a digital. This is some of them printed out, and the way I've cut them is I cut them with scissors. So I'll show you on the edge of this one. While I'm cutting, I just kind of nick out little bits just to make it kind of not very neat. And you can do this if it's it looks like it's going to be difficult to cut out, so you don't have to cut the exact edge, but you can see you can get kind of quite a nice texture. Hopefully you can see that. You can get quite a nice texture just with a pair of scissors. This one, for example, had quite a complicated edge, but you don't have to cut it perfectly. You can just use this kind of technique to make it look older and a bit torn up. So I'm going to do this one. And first, I ought to tell you what I've printed this on. So this is a copier paper. I wanted to print it on newsprint, but I couldn't find my newsprint pad, and I've just overhauled my workroom and I still can't find it. So I don't know where it has gone. Probably used it all. But this is a copier paper. I got it from Amazon, and it's grey. You can't really tell unless I hold it against something white. If I grab something white, that's the difference. So it kind of has a little bit of a look of newsprint, although that's more of a buff colour. But it does actually, it's quite a cheap copier paper, and it still prints quite nicely now. But for an old document, it's kind of perfect, really. So this particular one, I think, is the one I'm going to start with. So it had these 4 lines. So I folded it that way first, and then I opened it and folded it along the centre. And I've just literally folded that up like this. And I've got my inks are now over. I have to now film from the left, so my inks are over on the left because I've got a new little shelving unit. I've got to do a video soon for organising my craft space, so I'll show you my setup when I do that video. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, and it's going to take a little bit of getting used to, but I will get used to it. So I'm going to use my brush, and I'm going to use walnut stain. And I'm going to get some ink on my brush, and I'm going to go around the outside first of all. Not worried about the paper bending at any point. That's absolutely fine. The first thing I want to do is to just ink it to give it that aged feel. Now, obviously, when documents have been folded for a long time, it is the creases that will age and discolour. So I'm going to ink those folds, both sides. And let's do this way as well. More, so you can kind of see that cross now. So now I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the front of the document, and this will give it a kind of soft blend by using a brush. If you don't have a brush, of course you can use a blending tool, but these brushes mine are not art supplies. They are makeup brushes from Amazon, and I think there was a set of like a ridiculous amount, like 16 or something. Blending tool now, because I want to give this a little bit of a darker edge in places, and then we're going to put in a few more creases. But you can see it kind of gives it a little bit of a burnt look. Is if you want to use different colour inks, you would start with your lighter ink. So say you're going to use Vintage Photo first, and then go on to your walnut stain, and then finally I would use something like Scorched Timber if I was going to do that. So it's looking pretty aged now. So you're probably going to scream at me, but I'm just going to give that a little crunch. like that. And it also kind of softens up the paper a little bit. Don't be afraid to just wrinkle it and then add a little bit more ink if you want. Now, you can see here, it's kind of got a natural where I've inked it. Just put that crease in a little bit more so it gives it a little bit more depth. I'm going to go like that. And I'm going to just keep that folded over really. And then just rough up here and there. And like I said, this is quite a thin, cheap paper, so it tears and folds and creases really easily, just in a few places. Obviously, you don't want to overdo it, but we want this to look like it's been up in a loft or in an attic or taken in and out of an old writing desk or bureau for a really long time. So that is kind of the basis done. I did a video on my alcohol ink tape. There are thousands out there, so I'm going to add a really small amount. I don't want to overdo it with my tape. I'm just going to just give that a little trim that, and then I think I'm going to add a little bit to the back, and I'm going to do that down there. Now, we've got a little bit of a rolling edge here, and I would normally be okay with that. Do you find when you've done a little move around in your workroom, it takes you ages to remember where you've put everything? So this is art glitter glue, so it's quite clear. That's going to be fine. Now I'm finding that a little bit bright, so I'm going to go in with a little bit of ink. Whether or not that will stick, I don't know, but temporarily it makes me feel better. And now I need to put the crease in that where we've put that, and the one down there. I'm liking that so far. I like to see things stapled, so I'm going to grab the little box. That will do. The first thing I've come to, and of course I need to age this. And again, I'm being quite heavy-handed. I don't mind if it bends. I don't mind if it gets a crease. You probably won't see this side, but I'm going to ink it anyway. Go around the edges to make that a little bit darker. Give that a little wrinkle up. Just go over that. I do have an old video actually on aging. I'll try and pop that in the description box or up here somewhere. And then I'm going to... What would be nice is if I could find a French stamp to go on here. Okay, I didn't have a French stamp to hand, but I did find an Italian stamp. It's blue, so it's in keeping with the style of what I'm doing. Oh, upside down. This, I think it's the it's the tiny toadstools, and it's got a little, it's got a little text stamp in there. So I'm just going to add a little bit of text to that. And already I can see how this So already I can see this setup is not actually going to work for me 100%. So I'm glad I did a little bit of filming today. I'm going to just staple that on like that, and there we have an aged document. And I think even just adding this little ticket and the tape, and so that I'm quite happy with, and I'm going to call that done for now. So in this kit there are 3. I think I'm going to use this one because it's slightly bigger. There are 3 of these kind of envelopes. I'm going to fold that over, and I'm going to find a paper that I can line this with. I've been hoarding this for a really long time. I got this from Nikki, who used to be on my design team, and I think it's called decorator's paper. We don't have anything exactly like that. We don't have anything exactly like this here in the UK, so I have been hoarding this last little bit, but I am going to use it because this year is about using what I have. So just going to tear that. I'm not going to do any measuring, keeping this simple. And I can pop this away. See how much of that I actually do use over the course of the year. I think that looks a little bit too neat actually, so I'm going to grab my tear ruler for this job. That gives it a little bit of a more distressed look. I'll just take a little edge off there. Oh, right. Just tear that by hand. I'm going to ink around this in a similar way to how I did the document. I will put the links for the kit down in the description box. This is going to be lining it, but I do want to give it a good old wrinkle up. And then I'm going to use my brush to maybe just, if I didn't put, to just go over some of those creases. Yeah, I'm going to glue this on. Now, in my big office cleanup, I found 2 more of my jumbo Pritt sticks. I'm not sure how well they are going to work, but I always get asked about these, and they are or were from Amazon. However, I don't think you can find them anymore, and to be perfectly honest, I used to use it in videos for speed, but Pritt glue is not my favourite, and I actually like the Yoo-hoo stick, and that is supposed to be permanent. It's supposed to be stronger, and I do find it stronger. I'm going to stitch along the top and stitch along the bottom. Then I'm going to close my envelope and I'm going to stitch down the sides. I hope that makes sense, because obviously we want an open top. We want this to be a pocket. So that's my plan. I'll be right back. Here is my little, I'll call it a pouch actually rather than an envelope, but we do have a little pocket now. My sewing machine that I use all the time is actually packed up, ready to go for a service, because it has got a bit of an issue. The only thing is I'm not taking it in for a service for a while, so I'm using right now a completely different sewing machine. And I can't actually figure out how to make the stitches the right length at the moment. I'll get there. I'm just not there yet. There we have our little pouch, and we have our little document, and that could go into a journal. So I have a few more pieces here that I would quite like to pop into my envelope. I think this might be, I'm going to tuck that in backwards, and then this is possibly the right size, maybe a little bit small, but I can always make that look a little bit bigger. I'll tear that. I think I'm going to use these pieces. Inking, of course. I'm going to add a little bit to the top and possibly a little bit to the bottom, but I want to make sure it's going to just peek over the top of my envelope. I want this to be quite thin. Right, I have, this is Amazon packaging that I have embossed. Let's go for a, tear that edge. I like the fact that this has got a seam. It's only glued, but that means we can kind of fold that down. I'm going to go heavy with the ink text on my envelope, but that's fine because I won't need all this. In actual fact, it's probably a really good idea if I make this a bit more to size right now. So that's going to be the back, and this is going to be where I'm adding my little bits. And I think I'm going to start from the bottom and work up. I'll glue this piece down, and I'm quite happy to have a little piece showing there. Just going to take that out for a minute, pop this into my pouch. I think that's a pretty perfect width. And then that is about how far I want it to come out. So I'm just holding that together and bring that out. Yes, it's not going to work for me, I don't think, having everything over on the left, being right-handed. I'm going to put that pencil mark there, glue this piece down, give that a little bit of space at the edge there. Rip that. So we've got this embossing going on the back. That's pretty good. This is nowhere near inked enough. That can now be glued in. You could turn this into a pocket as well if you wanted. I'm not. I just really wanted to have a little play with this kit. Let's say, so that sticks out there a little bit. Let's see how far that works really well. I like that combo. I just need to add a little bit of something to this, and I think we're going to go, let me find some trim. In my move around, I decided I definitely needed a scrap. Oh no, that's not the right box. While I was doing the move around, I decided I needed some kind of scrap trim lace box to hand. And that's what I've got. Now this is some very old seam binding. And again, it's something I've been really hoarding because it is almost impossible to get it in the UK. I think that might that might work on the envelope. Let's put that away for a second. Let's go 2 holes, I think. Probably didn't want to do that really. Too late now. So I've put 2 holes in there. I probably will need to use an eyelet. That was a big mistake because I can only find, I'm wondering if I use them. No, they're here, look, they're here. In the tin that says small eyelets. Right, so they're in place. I'm just going to set those. I'll poke this through one way. Now I haven't cut off what I need because I want to make sure I'm not wasting any of this. It makes me a little bit more conscious. Saying that I'm going to use what I've got for a full year makes me... I don't want to hoard because that's the whole point of using what I've got. But I also don't want to waste what I've got. Right. So I'm going to just tie this in a bow, I think. Probably a very poor one. Now I can cut off a little bit of that. That looks quite cute. Looks quite cute. This is just literally an offcut. Now I'm going to use Fabri-Tac because it is fabric on paper. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue around the corner of that envelope just to make sure this is going to hold down. So we got a pouch. There, I'm not going to attempt to use the Fabri-Tac for that. So we've got our aged document that I'm putting in backwards because of the little flap we've got on the edge there. Tuck that in. and then the little tag. You could always put a little piece of plain paper on the back here if you wanted to write, or a little flip, so there's some writing space, but I'm going to just call that my little journaling card. And that is my little piece of French ephemera all done. You've got writing space here as well, and of course you've got lots of writing space if you wanted to write on the back of your document. I'm now going to move on to part 2 of this video, and we're going to do a no kit version. Now, at the beginning of the year I explained I was going to, if I had some junk, I was going to use it in a short space of time or get rid of it. Now, I recently had a birthday, and I have some tissue paper, some envelopes, I've got 2 gift bags in here. I've also got some cardboard, not sure if we'll need that, another envelope, some more tissue paper. There's also ribbons on the bags. One of the bags, I don't think I'm going to use the gift bag, so there's another box and another gift bag in there, but I'm going to put those aside for now and just kind of look at what we've got here. Put that aside. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the box. I'm actually going to put that down there for now. Envelope, more tissue paper. So I think tissue paper and envelopes. Now I've also pulled out a few bits and pieces from one of my boxes, one of my drawers. So I've got some ledger, so I'm going to keep that out. I think I'm going to use that. I'm going to pull out a piece of music paper. I think we're going to just start with that. Also still have some of my beautiful embossed paper, and this is just packing paper. We're going to start with I think we'll start with making we'll start with making the pouch. Now this is quite flimsy, but it is blue, so I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use an envelope, and these are the kind of things that everybody should have in their stash. Now I'm going to grab my ruler again, and we'll make a couple of pouches out of this. Maybe I didn't need to do that actually, so I'm going to tear along there. That's obviously good for another one, and I will tear off. Let's just grab the one we made earlier, and we'll make it a similar size. Now obviously this is open that side. Grab my scissors and just cut that little bit there. So now we have a kind of similar configuration to the one we had earlier. Now, like I said, this is quite fragile. I'm just going to fold that over there like that. Scrappy piece. And we'll probably see this is going to very possibly tear where I'm folding it. I'm going to use my tear ruler. Even that tape is so old, it's tearing very easily. So we've got another piece of scrap there. Now I actually love this tape, so I want to make sure I'm including that. And this is going to make this a little bit more sturdy for sure. Now this is not going to be our inside, this envelope is not going to be our inside layer. I'm using it just to make this more sturdy. This is the edge that's going to show most, so I'm going to crumple that up and I'm going to ink this. Now I'm going to very gently glue the back of this piece, but I'm sure things like music books, music sheet is actually quite easy here in the UK to pick up in charity shops. There's certainly a lot on places like eBay, but definitely I've managed to pick up an awful lot over the time from charity shops. So I'm going to put a little bit of the art glitter glue around the edge of this, just to kind of make this as stable as I can. And I'm also going to glue down that crease because I am concerned that may well tear over time. Glue that down. Quite happy with that. That is the start of our little pouch style envelope. Now what I want to do now is line the inside of this. Right, the blue is not really working for me, so I'm going to grab this tissue paper here. So it's gold on one side and brown on the other. I think I'm going to have it doubled up. Just gently glue these together. There's not a whole lot of glue there, but I think it's going to be enough to hold it together. At the top, because I don't want any neat edges, and I'm just going to tear around. Yep, like that. I'm kind of wishing I'd have used the brown side, to be honest, but I didn't. I'm going to glue these together. Now I'm going to let this dry for a few minutes before I go ahead and sew around this. So I'm just going to pull out my scrap lace again and see what I've got in here. I don't like that sharp corner, so just trim that off. Now I'm going to need that for the top of my tag, so I'll leave that out. And this time the stitching will actually go around it. So let's add a little bit of Fabri-Tac and get this stuck down. And then that will also have a little bit of time to dry. Again, we'll add a little bit of, just to hold that in place while that's all drying. Okay, so that's going to be our little pouch, and again I'll sew across the top and across the bottom. I'll close it up and then I'll stitch down both sides. Let's move on to the document. There, and that should fit in our little pouch. Now, you can do exactly the same thing with a book page or a piece of music paper. It doesn't have to be ledger, it doesn't have to be vintage, it could be anything. I'm just going to very quickly make a second one. To fold it here. Again, I'm going to use my envelope as a guide, so I'm going to fold that there. And there. I've had a lot of people say they don't have a lot of luck with their alcohol inks on the tape, so I've got an alternative for you. This is surgical tape. You can also use masking tape, but masking tape is a little bit thicker. For this, I'm just going to tear a little bit of tape off, pop it down, pop that down there, and I'm just going to ink it. Just give it a bit of an aged look with some ink. It's not going to be as transparent as using a clear tape, obviously, but it's going to do the same thing. Let's put a little bit of glue here and here. Surgical tape is a little bit like washi tape. It's not completely sticky. But I do want to give you alternatives if you don't have alcohol inks. And this is a great alternative. I mean, that does. It looks like aged tape. So surgical tape is actually really cheap. I bought a box from Amazon. So we now have this one. Got a piece here. Scrap piece of paper. It's got a bit of interest because of the lines. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go back in with this little stamp I have. little bit of text on there. Any text stamp would work. And then I have another little blue stamp. Just put a bit of glue on that. Put that down. Ink this little piece up. Staple that, and we now have a fake vintage document. It's music paper. This one is obviously a genuine vintage document, but to be honest, I like this one. So we've got those two options. Now we're going to make our little journaling card. Some embossed paper. You could use any paper for this. This is, like I said, this is just packaging paper. It's nothing special. And again, I'm going to use my envelope as a guide. So I'm just going to tear an edge. Right, so I've got one torn edge. Line that up. I want it slightly smaller than the document. So we'll tear there. Tear there. I'm going to put a little fold in. I want that sticking up a little bit. Little fold. So this is going to be the back. So this is the piece we want to glue our bits and pieces onto. I think I'm going to use a piece of this. And we'll do a similar composition to the kit version. We'll glue these two pieces of music paper in place, and then I want to do a little something to that just to make it a little bit more interesting to go on our ephemera. Blue ink here. I'm going to have a quick look through my stamps. Of course, any stamp will do really. You just want something just to pop up from that background. And I know it's only a really small edition, but for me that's enough. You could put a little bit of text on here as well if you wanted. That's done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this, and I'm going to add my eyelets and ribbon to this, and then I'll be back. Okay, so my envelope is sewn. I have two options for documents. However, I think I'm going to use this one. So let's open that pouch and realise that does not fit. That's fine. I'm going to just tear a little bit off the edge here and ink that up again. There we go. Might be in trouble if the tag doesn't fit. So let's put that in there. Okay, because we've got the little tag piece there, I could turn it round, but I actually like that side. So I'm going to just put these in together so that doesn't catch. Okay. So there is our non-kit version. There is the kit version. I like them equally. I hope you will have a go at them. Now I'm going to show you what else I made yesterday. So I made another one with the kit, similar configuration. So we have that one. So I made that one with the kit as well. It's also made a little tag. So that's again very similar principle, but this time I've used one of the images and I've just tucked a little thing on there and put some ribbon onto the tag. And then I had, before I used these in today's video, I scanned them and I have made these available on my Ko-fi. So this one is made with the photocopy and is this one. So that's the back of that. And then the scan of the document. And again, I've just done something very similar here, as you can see. But this is from the scan. So this just goes to show you, I know it's without a digital but it is made with a freebie. So it's very similar to the one we made today with the actual document. So this is what you could do at home if you don't have access to a printer. And then I also made, using an envelope, I made with some scraps, I made a little corner pocket. So we've got all of these little pieces. I hope you like them. I hope you'll give it a try, either with your own papers from home or with the digital. So thank you so much for watching. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has donated on our Ko-fi this month, especially if you donated because of the wonderful Corey. Thank you, Corey. If you did donate this month, you should have received a specific link to a freebie via the message. So please do go and check that out if you haven't already. And yeah, so I'll be back really soon. Take care. Bye.